Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves, Seattle and King County double down on their failed homeless policy, even though they claim they're making changes. Who is Abdul Al-Sayed, and why is his spokesperson coming to speak at the University of Washington? But before we get to any of that, my friends, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I know some of you were watching the election results last night with glee because Shama Sawant looks like she's going to be boxed out. If that's your biggest win of the night, GOP had a bad night. A really bad night. And I know normally I'm the guy who comes on here and I tell you, look at the sunshine and the rainbows and look how good everything's going to be and this is how we win. Nope. Because we got a much bigger problem. The vote turnout was so pathetic. Last I checked, it was about 24%. 24%. So, all of you who are planning and calling and talking about mail-in ballots and voter fraud, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. A lot of you didn't even show up to vote. Not this audience, of course. You guys are educated, and you showed up to vote. But a lot of other people out there didn't vote. And a lot of people, there's nothing to be excited about. How many races were there which were unopposed? Democrats were running unopposed. Sean Scott, communist, behind the income tax, unopposed. Manka Dhingra, public safety person who was behind making sure there weren't police pursuits, unopposed. But worse than that, where is the Republican Party? I don't know what they're doing, but I'm going to rip on the King County Republican Party for a second. I'm on their website right now on their voters guide. City of Black Diamond, proposition number 1, no recommendation. City of Covington, proposition number 1, no recommendation. City of Seattle, proposition number 1, no recommendation. Municipal Court Judge, position number 5, no recommendation. County Council District Number 2, Metropolitan King County Council District Number 2, no recommendation. District Number 8, no recommendation. King County Fire Protection District Number 43, Proposition Number 1, no recommendation. King County Fire Protection District Number 47, Proposition No. Number 1, no recommendation. What are you guys doing over there? We're just talking about the propositions. Should we vote for more taxes? Should we not? And that is all blank at the King County GOP Voters Guide. My Voters Guide is more detailed than this. I opened up the election guide that you get from the state, that you get from the county. I opened it up. And I looked and I saw there was no statement in opposition to the library levy here in Seattle. The library levy is so bad that even the Seattle Times came out against the thing. It won in a landslide, by the way. Won in a landslide. Because nobody's there to make the opposing argument. In the voter's guide, it's blank. It is blank. Nobody was there to say, hey, you know what? This thing's actually not spending money on libraries. This thing's actually spending money on homeless. And if you want to spend money on homeless, then go spend money on homeless. But we have a big enough problem with our libraries being internet cafes for the homeless. Now you're just going to make them worse? This is funding for Homeless Inc., which hasn't worked so far, through the library system. In addition to that, it is an undefined DEI program that's part of this as well. $400 million, and we don't know what's going to come out of this. And meanwhile, the entire library system has just become internet cafes for the homeless. How hard would it have been to write a 3-paragraph statement for the voter's guide about, hey guys, don't vote for this thing because the money's not actually for the libraries. We know you love the libraries, but you got to reject this thing because it's actually for the homeless. I've written those statements before when King County reaches out and asks me to do it. And yet here, nobody wrote a statement for it. Isn't that the county Republican Party's job? Shouldn't they get somebody to actually fill that thing out? And it's not just in Seattle. Black Diamond, Covington. I mean, I'm looking at all these. King County, blank, 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 blank. Nobody's talking. These aren't close races we're looking at in the majority of these contests. These are blowouts. The proportion between Democrats and Republicans in Washington state is 60% Democrat, 40% Republican. Your ballot results should be reflecting that. Instead, you're seeing 70%, 80% for the Democrats because nobody's making the argument for the Republicans. Republicans are too busy proving how MAGA they can be. Sure, we wear our American flag shirts or our American flag pants, and we show up to events and we feel all patriotic and we feel great and we feel like we're going to win this time, but do we really feel like we're going to win this time? We're not even putting up candidates in half these races. Not even putting up candidates in half these races. And it's clear the messaging isn't getting through, and it's clear that people aren't talking about it. Why? Because if you actually had the messaging out there about how bad the income tax is, then guess what? People would have showed up to the polls to oppose it, just like they did regarding the initiatives. So let's go. Washington is getting the messaging out there. Future 42 is getting the messaging out there regarding the income tax. And they were keeping their powder dry because they have limited funds, and they're going to use them in the general election when it's actually on the ballot. But it's up to the GOP to say, these are the lawmakers responsible for it. These are the lawmakers who are trying to tax your income, even though Washingtonians have said no to an income tax 11 times before. Jamie Peterson, lead sponsor of it, got 71% because he was going against a socialist, and I didn't even see somebody who's moderate, somebody who's conservative in the race. So the guy who sponsored the income tax, the guy who is behind 13-year-olds getting to decide to get trans surgeries and abortions, the guy who's behind a bill which allows Washington state to kidnap your child and hide them from you if they want to get one of these procedures. That Jamie Peterson got 71% of the vote last night. Because I guarantee most people have no idea who Jamie Peterson is and have no idea he's a lead sponsor for the income tax and have no idea whatsoever of how bad he is for Washington because nobody's talking. How many political ads did you see this cycle? How many? Very, very few. The Democrats are within breath of a super majority in Olympia. And if they have a super majority, all we're going to be able to do here is sit back and watch. We're just going to be able to cover what insane stuff they pass because we're not going to be able to do anything about it at all. They can change the state constitution. They can make it so you can't run initiatives anymore. They can make it so the Republicans are completely obsolete, and they don't even have to do a performative, let's check in with the Republicans on this. They are that close to it. And right now, I look around at the various political parties, and I may be costing myself some speaking gigs here, but I've spoken at a lot of these parties. And I can tell which parties take this seriously, and I can tell which parties don't take this seriously. Pierce County GOP, for example. Pierce County GOP, I know when I go to their voters guide, it's going to have everything. It's going to have every race. It's going to be all clearly lined up right there. I think they do a great job. King County, I look at these candidates and I'm looking at them and going, really? None of these people are going to win. And you guys didn't even bother talking about all the taxes and all the levies. What were we too busy doing over there? This is your job. What were we too busy doing? You know, let's go Washington and Future 42 and organizations like that that are working so hard, so very, very hard on making sure we have a chance to repeal the income tax. They can't do this alone. They can't. I'll take you back to 2016. GOP had just been annihilated by Barack Obama in the last election. GOP was rudderless. A whole bunch of people got up on a stage. What was it, 12 of them? At the Reagan Library. These are our best hope. Our best hope. Jeb Bush was the front runner as our best hope. Who comes out of that? Donald Trump. Donald Trump comes out of that not just because he's Donald Trump and he's better at marketing than these guys, but because the field was so weak. The field was so weak. And that's how you get a guy like Donald Trump. And that's how you get MAGA taking over the party. And that's how all of a sudden now the Republican Party isn't the Republican Party anymore. The Republican Party is the MAGA Party. And their fundraising is great. They got these candidates coast to coast, but Washington hasn't really gotten on that train yet because MAGA don't work here in Washington. And yet we have these purity tests like we did last time we had a governor's race out here about who's more MAGA. We're busy fighting with each other, Semi Burr, Dave Reichert, all that. And did we learn any lessons from that? No. This time, a bunch of people just didn't even bother to show up. Didn't even bother to show up. When Marxist Shama Sawant losing is the thing we get most excited about, we have a massive, massive problem. Now, are there bright spots? Yes, but they are few and far between. Because clearly the argument isn't being made, hey, that legislature, they're the ones behind this income tax. Hey, the income tax is going to go before these judges because it's going to get sued, and it's going to go before the Washington State Supreme Court, and these judges were appointed by Bob Ferguson to keep his income tax. That argument's not getting out. The argument about all this craziness happening in schools, the Washington State Legislature did that, which is why we got to make sure we have parental rights. That argument's not getting out there. Hey, these are the legislatures that made it so that girls have to compete against boys. That argument's not getting out there. The main argument that's not getting out there is the Democrats are responsible for the lack of affordability here in Washington, like with the Climate Commitment Act and what it did to gas taxes. That argument's not getting out there. The GOP has a messaging problem and it has an attendance problem. It's bad enough that a whole bunch of conservatives moved out of here during COVID. You think there aren't more around? What outreach is being done to the Mormon population? What outreach is being done to the Christian population? 1 million Christians didn't vote in the last election. What outreach is happening? What's being done about that? We're heading into a midterm election, which is going to be very, very challenging for the GOP, where anti-Trump fever will be at the highest pitch you've ever seen it before. And half the races, Democrats are running unopposed. Half of them, they're running unopposed. We had a lot of people step up. A lot of people step up and said to me, Ari, I want to run. I want to run. I want to run. Unfortunately, in a lot of those races, that's where the incumbents were. Well, some of those incumbents aren't going to be around much longer, unfortunately. They're not going to be around for the Republicans. They're going to be gone. They are going to be gone, and the Republicans are going to lose more. Open seats, where you had a chance to take them, they're going to be gone. Going to be gone. I don't want to hear about voter fraud because I'm looking at these results, and it is abysmal, even the turnout. In fact, I noticed the phone lines are pretty quiet today. And you know why the phone lines are pretty quiet today? Because listeners of the show know what I'm going to ask them when they call today. Did you vote or not? And if the answer is no, I'm hanging up on you. It's that simple. And I know a lot of you are going to, well, Ari, it's rigged. No. I got my ballot in. Got my wife's ballot in. Took me a few extra minutes because I actually forgot. I actually found my ballots yesterday. Kevin, you're going to laugh at me about this. As much as I'm ragging on everybody about this, my ballots were sitting under a stack of flyers that I was going to bring in here and make fun of different candidates with. And I forgot the ballots were underneath. They were sitting there for 4 days before I forgot to drop them off. I almost missed the deadline myself. Then I wouldn't be able to yell at anybody. I am looking at this list, and it is abysmal. Now, the bright spots, the few bright spots. Last time I checked, and we're getting another ballot drop at 4 o'clock. John Braun and Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez are almost tied. Almost tied. You want to think your vote doesn't matter? 283 votes separate them right now. 283 votes. So there's an opportunity there. There is an opportunity there. I think there's an opportunity also with the fact that Shama Sawant got kicked out, because I see a lot of Democrats are going through, but not a lot of the socialist crazies are going through. In fact, Katie Wilson, back three progressive candidates, two of them got completely blown out. So it seems like if I'm looking at these election results, Washingtonians said, yeah, we want Democrats, but we don't want crazy. And mind you, they don't realize the establishment Democrats are also crazy these days. I'm looking at some of these judges' races, not looking pretty, but I think there's a way we can actually win. I do. I think there's a few. And I think that you'll have some momentum based on the initiatives, but that's only if people actually show up. And that's going to be up to all of you to get people to actually show up to the polls, because that's how you win in off-year elections. And the Democrats got a machine out there where they can get 70, 80, 90% of the vote without breaking a sweat. But unfortunately, we don't have that. Our parties are barely present. What are you guys raising money for? What are you guys spending your money on? What are you guys doing with the money you guys raise? Because judging by King County GOP, I don't know what they're doing, because I see half these races aren't endorsed in. The propositions, the levies, the taxes, you can't say no, oppose these. I'm glad Shama Sawant is not moving forward, most likely. We'll find out at 4 o'clock for real. People have been calling me all day. Ari, isn't it great news? We finally got rid of Shama Sawant. Okay, not really. Not really. Wait till 4 o'clock. She has had comebacks before. When AP News called it last night that Doug Bassler knocked her out of the race, I said, wait for it. Wait for it. She has had remarkable comebacks before. I don't think she's going to have it this time. But I want to hear from you what you think the solution to this is, because I'm looking at this as a turnout problem. There's no excitement. What is the GOP selling in Washington? We're the opposition. Great. What are we opposed to? I don't see any ads. I don't see any social media ads. I don't see anything. I just see a lot of people liking my pages. And as much as I like that, as much as I enjoy that, as great as it is for monetization of the show or whatever else it is, that don't win you elections. What do you think needs to be done so that you can actually have victory here in Washington? Because I think it comes down to voter turnout, and this turnout is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Jay in Olympia. Jay, I thought you were out in Idaho. Now you're back in Olympia? Oh, wait, you're the other Jay. How's it going, man?
Thank you very much, Ari. So I just called to commiserate with you, but I did vote. So my wife voted. We voted. So we were happy and proud that we voted Republicans, or that we voted for, Mickey Mouse, George Washington.
Jimothy. Yeah.
Yeah, especially here in the 35th district, where they're very hard left, down here in the west side of Olympia. But anyway, I don't know what to do both nationally. I mean, the Republicans have squandered their opportunities nationally, and then here in this state, they're non-existent. Whenever I go and see state Republicans at fairs or things like that, I fuss at them. Like, what are you doing? Where is your guidance? Where is your recommendations, like you talked about earlier? And it's just non-existent, and it just bothers me to no end. I mean, to usurp the line from Star Wars, the sound of democracy dying is not applause, it's silence. And it's the Republicans that makes me very, very mad and sad. But I'm at the point where I'm numb now, because we're used to this. This is the failures of the Republicans in this state. I know what the Thurston County Republicans are doing. They're selling crappy pork barbecue sandwiches at the county fair. And that's all that I ever see from them. Or at Lake Fair, they're, again, selling their crappy pork barbecue sandwiches. And I don't see any presence from them here in the county, or any guidance or any online presence to help guide the few Republicans.
So I'm just going to stop you. I'm just going to stop you right there, Jay, for a second. Why did I start doing my voter's guide? Because I never had one before I had a radio show. And because I actually told this, NPR interviewed me about my voter's guide. Apparently it got a lot of attention this year. And NPR said to me, why'd you do this? And I said, I remember back in 2008, something came to my house that had the name Barack Obama at the top, and it had every Democrat to vote for in my race tailored to my district, showed up, here's who you vote for. And the Republicans, I didn't get one of those, and I didn't get their mailers for John McCain or anybody else until after the election. And I'm not blaming the post office for that. I'm blaming the Republicans for that because the Democrats somehow managed to get it done. And I'm tired of Republicans dropping the ball. And actually what I think needs to happen here, Let's Go Washington and Future 42, we're really designed to fill in the cracks of the GOP and offset and help, and we're just going to focus on initiatives. But you need something that's going to take the place of these parties because they're busy arguing over PCOs, and most people have no idea what a PCO even is. Jay, appreciate the frustration. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots of you seem to have the frustration about this, and I'm warning all of you on the line. I am going to ask you if you voted or not. Oh, wait, Kevin's reaching for the thing. Did you ask them already, Kevin?
I did not, but it'll be funny if we go to break here and see how many
stick around.
Yeah,
so here's what we're going to do. We'll take a quick break right now. When we come back, do you think you have a plan of how to save GOP conservative values here in Washington? You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just a reminder, my friends, if you can't get enough of the Ari Hoffman Show or you missed part of the show, every single day we have the Ari Hoffman Show reloaded from 6 to 7 p.m., brought to you by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range, Puget Sound's premier destination for everything firearms. So, remember, That is from 6 to 7 every single day. It's all content we record today, but stuff you might have missed. Well, it looks like I really struck a nerve with everybody. But first, clarification. Kevin sent me this email. Shalom, Ari. A note from the Goy in Federal Way. That means non-Jew. That means person who's not. It actually technically just means nation, by the way. You know I love your program, and especially today's rant, except for one thing you said. You called out the Christian and Mormon voters as two separate entities. Let's be perfectly clear. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is Christian, and frankly, most are conservative. Please clarify for your admirers, Kevin. You know what, Kevin? That's a very fair point. Sorry, I was just listing off groups as they came to my head, so I apologize because I wouldn't like it if somebody did that to the Jewish world. So very, very fair, Kevin. I hear where you're coming from. Apologize for that. We go to KVI studio line. Take a call from Marianne. Marianne, you're the first one to get the question today. Did you vote yesterday?
I did.
Excellent. Excellent. When did you vote? Yesterday or before that?
I put it in a Dropbox after work yesterday evening.
Okay, so your vote likely has not been counted yet. You may stay, Marianne. What's on your mind?
Thank you. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Hey, a couple of things. One is I just wanted to let you know that I did get a flyer in my mail. I live in Bremerton.
Oh.
I did get a flyer in my mail that had suggested Republican votes. It came from the Republican Party.
Excellent.
So,
which Republican Party? The local one or the state one?
I believe it was the local one, but
Okay.
I won't swear to that.
We'll double check that. If you have it at home, take a picture and send it to me, ari@kvi.com, okay?
I will send it to you if I still have it. It might be in my trash at work because that's where I filled out my ballot. But I also wanted to mention that I think the Republican Party not only needs to be present on who to vote for and who not to vote for, but to be present on how to get involved beyond voting. Years ago, I did have that in Renton. I was kind of brought along because of something I believed in, and I actually was on the Republican Party platform that was happening in Yakima where we all voted on. I was a district delegate or whatever.
Sure.
But as far as getting involved other than voting, I find it to be almost impossible to know how to get a foothold. So it would be really nice to have the Republican Party put out some education about how to do that.
You know what I got to do? I got to take the whole episode today and make sure I put it up as a podcast. I should just rename it. Hey, Republican Party, here's the suggestions of how to fix everything. We should just rename the episode today, Kevin. I think I wrote something like Washington voters are suicidal today. No, it's just going to be, hey, GOP, listen to us. Here's how you fix things. Marianne, very wise words. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you voting. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Eugene in Tacoma. Eugene, what's up, man? Did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. When did you vote?
Last week. I put mine in the Dropbox last week, and they've counted it.
Excellent. Excellent. So your vote count already, because if we keep asking people and they voted already, then there's no outstanding late Republican surge coming in to help our candidates. Go ahead, Eugene. What's up, man?
Well, that's what I bemoan is the candidates there were to vote for, Pierce County King. But where I'm at in Pierce County, it was very dismal, and the results were dismal. I'm seeing 20% here in Pierce County, too, and I'm going, oh my, I'm an aging baby boomer. We should be proud and looking forward, and look what it's become today, and it's so disheartening. I'm flabbergasted. I can't tell you enough. The words are escaping me. It's terrible.
So let me ask you this, Eugene. Let me ask you this. What do you recommend they do to get your demographic more involved?
Well, one, they need to change the image from stodgy old guys smoking cigars or something like that, and get more, and get more in tune with what's really going out here in the streets. There's that. Yeah, exactly. It goes on and on.
It's like why Turning Point has pyrotechnics. You know, it looks awesome. Yeah. It looks like a rock concert when you're on stage at Turning Point, right? And what do we have at our local GOP events? Barbecue. I mean, barbecues are nice. Don't get me wrong. I like a good barbecue. But let's be real about this for a minute here. Eugene, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line, and we go to Ted in Gig Harbor. Ted, did you vote?
Yes, sir. Of course.
Excellent. When did you vote, Ted?
Over a week ago.
Good man. What's up?
Okay. Well, I'm two things. First of all, I'm a PCO in the 26th LD in Pierce County, and I'm happy to report that all three of our candidates have not only made it through to the general, but also we've got Mike Salon running for county council, and he made it through to the general as well.
Mike Solon, you mean the old police chief? Mike Solon made it through. Yeah, that's great news.
Oh, yeah?
I hadn't had a chance to check his race yet. That's great news. That's huge.
Yep. And I have found that it is Republicans and conservatives love to complain, but they, getting them involved is tough. I go through a lot of people before I find somebody who's interested in actually going to the occasional meeting and helping out. In my legislative district, the chairman is a industry management guy, and he has put together the first bona fide plan that I have seen in my 8 years of being a PCO. It involves finding new candidates, promoting new candidates, getting out the vote, on and on. There's a lot of things to do. And what I found is for those chairmen that don't have anything like that, they recruit new people, but if there's nothing to do, you lose them in 2 months,
So, Ted, do me a favor. Send me that information. That sounds very productive. That sounds very helpful, and you guys got some candidates through. Send me that information, arikvi.com. I want to see it, or I want to talk to your chairman, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Send that my way, arikvi.com, okay?
All righty. Take care.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts, plus my solutions on how to fix this mess. It's one thing to complain about it, but I think I know how we can fix it. Give you all my ideas when we come back, and I want some of yours. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 4 o'clock, your chance to take the trip or keep the cash, my friends. I know you're all calling to give your advice on how we can fix the GOP, how we can win elections, but don't forget, you're going to need some money for that. So if you want to donate your money to the GOP or you want to save it because prices are going up on everything, take the trip or keep the cash. Coming up at 4 o'clock today. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Krista in Tacoma. Krista, what's going on?
Not much. I'm kind of new to listening to the radio, and I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
And I don't know. All I know is that I voted, and I keep seeing like commercials, tons of commercials on TV for the Democrat, but I haven't seen tons of commercials for the Republican candidate. Like the candidate Emily
Randall. Emily Randall.
Yeah.
Yes.
She got 80%, and I was so disappointed. And I voted all Republican for everything. But I didn't get like hardly any flyers for the Republican candidates for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So I think if they would flood the TV with commercials, that's what people seem to be remembering, a commercial.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Even if they
Krista,
don't
you know the
know.
problem is TV advertising is very, very expensive, right? But I'm not even hearing the ads running on the radio, and we're less expensive than them. I don't see them spending the money on that, and I think what happens is a lot of candidates come out and they give their money to consultants or they spend their money on other things. What your money should go towards, if you're a candidate, door knocking, people to door knock for you if you can't get volunteers, and advertising. Anything else you're spending your money on as a candidate, mostly a waste of money. Krista, appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, Krista brings up a very important point, which is you need more TV time. Well, how do you get more TV time? You get more TV time because you raise more money. Well, you can't raise more money unless people think you're actually going to win. Here's the first thing you need to do. You need to put party back in Republican Party. For example, Let's Go Washington is having their big Freedom Festival next weekend. I'll make sure I start putting out more of the, I'm going to be there, Brandy's going to be there, going to be lots of fun. There's going to be bands and barbecues. It's going to be a lot of fun. You got to put the party back in the party. I know everybody wants to have their meetings about bylaws and endorsements and PCOs and stuff. It's boring. And if you notice, the youngest person in the room is usually me at the ripe old age of 45. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to have fun. You need to have fun again. And you need to work with organizations like Turning Point USA that bring in the fun. And you need to pick smaller races, school boards. What can you win? So that way when donors say to you, we're never going to win in Washington, you go, we just won right here. We just won right here. And look how we spent your money. We didn't spend it on lame stuff. We spent it making sure we get out the vote. Zach told me. Zach was giving me the analytics, the data from my voter's guide. I cannot believe how many hits it got. I cannot believe how much time people spent on it. It's one of our highest performing posts ever. Now, imagine if there was on the state GOP website, here's all the GOP candidates. They could just go to that instead of me. They could just go to that. You need to engage the youth. You need to raise more money. You need to have more fun. Right now, nobody's having fun. Right now, we're all sitting Shiva. That's why you're all calling today. That's why you're all texting today. Because today, everybody's depressed and looking to vent, which I understand, which I completely understand. So now that you want to vent, now how do we fix this? You also need good candidates. How many of the candidates did you look at and go, well, they've got an R next to their name, so I guess I'll run. I guess them. How many of them did you actually know? How many of them did you actually meet? How many of them are you actually interested in? How many of them do you actually support? That means we need new candidates. Larry says over on the text line, question, when is Ari Hoffman going to run for governor? Maybe mayor of Seattle. Mayor. Now, I like that idea. I should run for mayor. Me versus Mayor Fivehead. Holy cow. That debate wouldn't even be fair. I bet you if I actually did run for mayor, you know what would happen? She probably wouldn't show up for the debate. They would probably never agree to a debate, just like they never agree to come on the show. I know. I've got the ticket for you in 2028. Hoffman, wait a second. I could do mayor. Brandy could be governor because she doesn't live in Seattle. There you go. Cruz Hoffman in 28. We'll just do that, right?
Like I've said to you before, Jay doesn't come on. No, wait, sorry. Ferguson doesn't come on because you call him Turd Ferguson.
Yes.
And she's not going to debate with you because you call her Mayor Fivehead.
Well, let's be fair. I only started calling her Mayor Fivehead when she said she wouldn't come on the show. Well, actually, she didn't say anything. They just never got back to me at all. Never got back to me at all. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, tell me you voted, man.
Well, I voted. I voted like a week ago, and I also got on Reddit. I want to tell the story, everybody. I got on Reddit, and I was the one guy reminding people to vote yesterday. No, there was only one candidate did go on, and he lost to Vanessa Kritzer, who denied the CARE endorsement. And,
whoa. Did she actually?
Yes.
Do you have that in writing?
No, I don't.
Where did she deny it?
She took. It's not on her website.
No, that's not it. That's not denying it, Joe. You got to come out and say, I'm not taking it.
Okay, fair enough. Let's also talk about, the fact that, there was just too few people using Reddit or X or Instagram. There was some Instagram by progressive Democrats to get out the vote, like Jessica Forsyth. But we really need, people to get out the vote for these justices. I mean, I understand there's several guides to help you vote for justices. I used, wasupremecourt.org. I think that's the name of it. There's also one with a funky spelling called CULLITON.
I don't know these, Joe, but they're all up on KVI.com. They're all up at KVI.com, who we were supporting. But I'll say this, Joe, and here's a problem. You look at somebody like Spencer Pratt. Spencer Pratt had a massive online game like nobody's ever seen before. That didn't help him win the election because of people like me sharing it. And people get confused also when you talk about social media. Just because you share a post and 3 people like it doesn't mean it's getting the vote out, because the majority of people are not on social media. The majority of people are going to their jobs all day long. So what you actually have to do is get out in the streets, not Pramila Jayapal style. You have to get on the streets. You have to knock on doors. You have to talk to people. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from our friend Carrie in Kent. Carrie, knocked out Shama Sawant with Doug Bassler. That's huge news, isn't it?
Woohoo! Yes, I am very excited, and I'm so happy to see that the socialists got, just what, 13, 10, 12%, something like that?
Yeah.
So that gives me hope. I did want to say, as I've been on for 8 years, I've been on the Washington State GOP Executive Board and the King County Executive Board. I've been on Pierce County Executive Board, and I everybody who's calling and complaining, saying the GOP needs to do this, the GOP needs to do that, you need to take some responsibility for yourself and go to their websites, because a lot of times they do have who they are supporting. And so, we can't spoon feed you. You've got to take some responsibility and go look for those. We don't have mailers, but we have things that PCOs are handing out for, like the slates for in the legislative districts. There's pastors' picks. There's yours. There's a lot of ways that you can find out if you will take the initiative and look. And I also wanted to say, as far as, commercials, you know who I work for Prolog Digital. I get my plug in there. But people don't realize in targeted cable zones how cheap we can get spots for about $5 a spot, and people don't realize that. So, yes, they need to be on the radio, and they need to be on targeted zones. It is expensive on broadcast, but we can do, call Prolog Digital. We can hook you up.
That's what I'm saying.
Charge me for that commercial.
Here's something else. You need to flood the airwaves, because here's the thing, Carrie.
Yes.
As much as people need to take some responsibility, so many people don't even look at that ballot until Election Day to actually look at the thing and know it's Election Day. And until they actually that's why you have to absolutely flood a person so they know it beyond belief. And I think that's part of the problem also, because it's the middle of the summer. This is the way it was designed by the Democrats. Appreciate the call. Right. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, Shama Sawant's concession speech. Or was it? Well, I enjoyed it immensely. You're going to enjoy this insane audio, plus more of your calls and more of your texts when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, if you missed any part of the show, tune in to the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded from 6 to 7 p.m. every single weekday right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI, sponsored by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range, the Puget Sound's premier destination for everything firearms. I promised you this insane audio. This is everybody's least favorite Marxist, Shama Sawant, used to be a city council member here in Seattle. She's responsible for Amazon moving to Bellevue. She's responsible for the minimum wage, which costs people their jobs. She's responsible for defunding the police. She's responsible for this mess, and she proudly takes credit for it. She does. So last night, my wife and I are watching election returns, and we've got multiple screens in our office. So we've got her computer, my computer, a spare computer, and a TV, and we've got all this on. We're election central. Yes, we're nerds. Okay, we're election central, but this is what we do for a living. And one of them is on Shama Sawant's speech. Now, it's all these people leading up to her speech. And a couple people speak. The first person, actually not the person who's right before her is her husband, Calvin Priest. Calvin Priest, the guy who got arrested and convicted for assaulting a staff member of Adam Smith. Yeah, literally did that. So he speaks. Every other word is the F-bomb. Every other word. You know what they taught us? Public speaking classes. They taught us if you have to curse, you don't have the arguments. Every other word was the F-bomb. Then there's Shama Sawant. So they're delaying her speech, and they're delaying her speech, and they're delaying her speech. And I said, oh, sweetie, they know the results already. They somehow know the results, and they're bad. She's going to come out here and lose her mind. Well, here's what happened. You had Adam Smith, who's the incumbent Democrat. Long time. I think he's one of the longest serving members of Congress in Washington. Then you've got Doug Bassler, the Republican. Then you've got Shama Sawant. Then you've got Melissa Chowdhury, who is another jihadi, this one married to a Pakistani fraudster who defrauded the U.S. government, who committed immigration fraud, and who was arrested by ICE. Those are your candidates there. So what happened was Chowdhury is a lefty who's running on all the same stuff Sawant is. Her and Sawant split the vote. So, of course, Shama Sawant, it can't be that she's unpopular and responsible for all these horrible things, and leftists and Democrats hate her guts too, has to be the establishment. And listen to her rant and rave about it. It's fun. It's painful, but it's fun. Give a listen.
Even though there were 2 or 3 Republicans that usually run in this race, this time it was only one Republican who ran this. They made sure the others dropped out.
Okay, that's not true. None of that ever happened, but you can rant and rave about whatever you want.
And they made sure that the other Democrat, Melissa Chowdhury, remained in the race. And she, in fact, said publicly in many of her videos that the state Democratic leaders were telling her to remain in the race. She didn't explain why, but, how many guesses do we need about why, right? And if you add up the percentages, it is clear why. The results tonight show that Melissa Chowdhury has delivered the goods for the Democratic Party. She has done her job. Shame on her. Shame on her.
Shame.
Shame on Melissa Chowdhury for having done this. Because we said from the very beginning, this is not about Shama Sawant or any individual. This is about the American working class. This is about the Palestinian people.
Whoa. Hang on a second here. I'm confused. Palestinian people. I did a little searching. I used my friend ChatGPT to find out some information. I asked it how many Palestinians live in Washington state. It said there's not even a noticeable Palestinian population that's even documented anywhere. Are we fighting for them, or we're fighting for the people in Gaza? Are you trying to be a member of the U.S. House of Representatives? What are you fighting for exactly, you Looney Tune?
We were running against a general among the warmongers. So what was the obligation that Melissa Chowdhury had to the Palestinian people? That's the question that needs to be asked.
The question needs to be asked is, why are you running for the American people? Oh, what a lunatic. At 4 o'clock, the next ballots drop, and we'll find out if she's going to make another miraculous comeback, or if we are done with her, at least for this election cycle. Okay, on the text line, I got to get mad at somebody. Hey, Ari, and before you ask, yes, I did vote. But one of the things I can think will get greater voter turnout on the GOP side is we need to get Scott Pressler or someone like him out here. From the other Mike in Everett. Mike, we had Scott Pressler out here. I went to 3 events with Scott Pressler. Thousands of people we had Scott Pressler out here, and he was out here to make sure we had voter ID, and the initiative failed. It didn't even qualify for the ballot because Scott Pressler can't live here. He can't move here full time. So some volunteers got to come out and do it. And unfortunately, didn't have enough people working with him. So the thing that everybody here claims they care about so much, they didn't come to help with. I met Scott Pressler in a gymnasium in, where was it, Gig Harbor or something like that? It was somewhere out there. I was out in the middle of nowhere, wherever it was. I met Scott Pressler there. I went with him to an event in Renton. I left the show. I was booking it at 90 miles an hour to make it to this event on time, not knowing I was the first speaker at this thing. Scott Pressler was here. At the end of the day, it comes to everybody volunteering and everybody getting involved, or things aren't going to get fixed. Got about a minute left. We go to Mike in Bellevue. Mike, you say you know how to get things fixed. Did you vote yesterday?
Yeah, I voted. I've run for state office and general election twice. The way we win this, we don't need the SAVE Act. We just simply, King County senior leadership needs to demand a full audit of all ballots, all printed ballots. We have no idea what happens to our ballots.
I don't think that's the problem. I don't think that's the problem, Mike, when we have 20% voter turnout, when most people aren't even showing up to vote.
Ari, how do you know that? See, we don't even know that because we don't know what ballots.
You know how I know that, Mike?
Ballots.
Mike, I'm going to tell you how I know that, because the reason I said today I'm going to ask everybody if they vote is because inevitably people always call my show and go, well, no, I didn't because of fraud and because of this. I'm not saying you don't have a point, Mike, but that's not how you win. You win the way Trump won in 2024 with too big to rig, where if they are actually rigging these things, you overwhelm the amount of votes they have. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, election results, and Jay Inslee doubled down on his claim that climate change caused what happened in Spokane. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. Coming up this hour on the most dangerous show on the airwaves, Jay Inslee doubles down on blaming climate change for the fires in Spokane, even though they have a guy in custody for the fires in Spokane. That and more election results. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. This week, we are giving away a trip to Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon, or $3,000 in cold, hard cash. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text in Ari for mayor. Do not text that in. Just text the word to the number I give you. Today's word is wild, as in where the wild things are. As in go wild when you go to Yellowstone. As in go out in the wild nature. W-I-L-D. Wild thing, you make my heart sing. Text the word wild, W-I-L-D, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Good luck. Appreciate you being part of the contest. Looks like the election pages are having a minute or two loading, so we're going to go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Randolph and Ravensdale. Randolph, what's going on?
Ari, I voted. I not only voted, I got in the old pick-em-up truck and drove to King County Elections on Grady Way in Renton. I walked in and I put my ballot in the box inside the building.
Good for you. I actually drove to a drop box last night. It was a zoo, man. It was an absolute zoo. Yeah, what's going on?
That's why I went Monday, and as of today, my vote's been counted.
Excellent.
My beef with the GOP is I don't know what the state did, but King County, why were we not inundated with this golden opportunity of your legislator voted for a millionaire's tax and it will become your income tax soon?
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
Here's the legislator. Here's the district. Your neighbors voted for him. Let's primary him now.
Exactly.
Why weren't we inundated by all manner of media?
Yep, I completely agree. I didn't see that anywhere. Now, I know that Let's Go Washington, everybody's like, why didn't they do it? Well, first of all, they got to save their money for the general. And they're doing a big campaign kickoff on Saturday, which I get. But that's the GOP's job, and I didn't see a lot of that. In fact, a lot of you on the text line are saying, Ari, I was inundated with text messages from the Democrat candidates, and I never got any from the Republican candidates. And I will tell you something. The Republican candidates, I never saw any of that. Texting is cheap and easy. There are websites that do that for you, and I never saw any text from anybody. Randolph, appreciate the call, appreciate the perspective, appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Aha! It looks like my election pages are loading now, so let's do some breaking news for you, huh?
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Okay, let's go to U.S. Representative 9th Congressional District. We just had a ballot drop here. They drop it around 4 o'clock. We're looking at this one, and the reason I'm looking at this one, this is Adam Smith's district right now. So you have Adam Smith, Doug Bassler, Melissa Chowdhury, and Shama Sawant, the Marxist. So we were wondering if she was going to have some remarkable, insane comeback. It doesn't look like that's happening. Adam Smith is now at 50.17% of the votes. Doug Bassler, the Republican, is at 24.10%. Shama Sawant is a distant third at 13%. A distant third. Now, she can rant and rave all she wants, but let's do a little math here. Let's say Chowdhury was not in the race. You'd have a statistical tie between her and Doug Bassler, and I don't think the Democrats had anything to do with the Republican candidate. Now, let's say you had your votes, you had Bassler's votes, which never would have gone to you anyway. But just for sake of argument, let's say all the Republicans got hit in the head with a bowling ball and decide to vote for Shama Sawant along with all the Chowdhury people, you'd still be losing to Adam Smith. So you can blame whoever you want, but it's you. You're the problem. It's me, as Taylor Swift would say. You're the problem, not any of this other stuff. That is a you thing. Now, here's something else interesting. You want some good news? I'll give you some good news. Down in Washington's 3rd congressional district, John Braun has opened up a little smidgen, teensy, tiny little bit of a lead. So last night, when we stopped counting for last night, and whoever showed up with the giant boxes showed up. So after we did that last night, he was trailing by approximately 300 votes. Now he's up by about 400 votes. This is going to be a horse race. And for those of you who say, our vote does not count, our vote does not matter, this is where it counts. This is where it matters. So, it's a perfect example of a seat that is able to get. Now, I will caution you about one thing. Brent Heinrich, who prefers the Democrat Party, is the person who came in 3rd in this race. He has 15.25% of the vote. We have to assume those are going to go to Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. So there's 2 things you do to stop that. You ready for what they are? Idea number 1, okay? You have to tell all the lefty Democrats that Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez is supported by AIPAC. So you actually have to do that. I can't believe I'm saying this. Why? Because when they find out she's supported by AIPAC, they're going to stay home. They're going to stay home. They're going to do that. I think AIPAC should have supported John Braun, but whatever. I don't get to make decisions for them. It's not my turn with the keys at the space laser this week. I don't get to make those decisions. They should have supported John Braun. He's a staunch supporter of Israel, but whatever. That's number 1. Number 2, you got to get out the vote for John Braun. You got to get out the vote for John Braun because this is one of the pickup seats. This is one of the seats the Republicans can get and hold Congress. That's where you look at it right here. Okay, now we're going to go to U.S. Representative Congressional District number 1. This is Susan DelBene. Susan DelBene has 54.71% of the vote. She is going to win this in a landslide. Who's coming in second? Mary Silva, the conspiracy theorist, anti-Semite who claims she's a Republican. That one. That's scary. That is scary in that race right there. You know what's scarier? Over 2,000 people voted for an actual Nazi, David Blumstrom, the guy who wrote that crazy rant in the Voter's Guide about globalize the Intifada and all that insanity. 2,000 people voted for that dude. And he's running against Pramila Jayapal. Believe it or not, she's not the craziest one in that race. Looking around a little bit more, I'm looking at the judges' races. The judges' races are not looking great right now, my friends. It looks like the Ferguson appointees are doing here, and I think that's a messaging problem. I think that is a big, big messaging problem where we haven't done a good enough job to explain to people that the income tax is going to be in front of the Washington State Supreme Court, and people are going to be deciding it. We don't want them to be buddies of Ferguson. So that's a problem right there. That is a messaging issue. That's what I'm seeing looking at that. Going down here, State Representative position 2 in the 10th Legislative District. You've got Dave Paul, who prefers the Democrat Party. He's got 58% of the vote. But you've got our friend Tim Hazelow in second place. So it looks like he's going to be going into the general. That's good. Here's another one, which is a horse race. This is State Representative position 1, Legislative District 12, between Brian Burnett and Stacey Willoughby. Brian Burnett prefers the Republican Party. And this is a close one, 49 to 50% in the Democrats' favor. This is one the Republicans might actually be able to pick up. That's huge right there. Looking around the rest of these, I'm looking for the good news. I'm just scrolling and looking for the good news. I'm not seeing any other things that are jumping out at me right now, but we'll keep checking this during the commercial breaks and bring you the information on that. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from John. John, what's going on, man?
I wanted to ask you if you've heard the guy that he's a county election guy from New York, and he's running for governor. Have you heard him yet?
No, I haven't looked into that race yet. I'm a little busy with what's going on here, man.
Well, you should hear him because he's the type of guy that's like Trump, that he's not concerned about who the hell the president is. He's going to go ahead and run the darn state of New York.
Well, I appreciate that, and I mean, I'm not saying we don't need guys like that, but he's out in New York. He can't help us here. So I'll check him out, John, but not going to help us here in Washington. Do appreciate the suggestion. Do appreciate the call. Do appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Suggestion here from the 540. Get out of the echo chamber and actually do real outreach. That's 100% right. Just because you're posting and people are liking it on social media, those are the people you agree with. Those are the people who agree with you. You got to go out. You know the most awkward thing when I was running for office? Knocking on those doors and having somebody cuss me out to my face. But I will tell you something. There was this one woman. I knock on her door. She was about my age, so this is 7, 8 years ago. She's about my age. And I knock on the door, and she goes, "You're Ari Hoffman." And I said, "Well, yes, I am." And she goes, "I'm not voting for you." And I go, "Well, thank you. Can you tell me why?" And she said, "Well, I disagree with your issues." And I said, "Well, what are my issues?" We had a whole conversation. And afterwards, you know what she said to me? "I am going to vote for you. Not that you changed my mind, but I'm going to vote for you because you're the only one who actually showed up in my house." That is a huge, huge thing. A huge thing. Do you know the only elected official that has shown up to my synagogue in the years that I've been going there? That's 23 years. Adam Smith. The only one who has actually shown up. I mean, look, we're back in Doug Bassler. He's our friend. And Doug Bassler will happily come. The only elected official who has ever shown up in my synagogue has been Adam Smith. Showing up, that's part of the game, my friends. That's part of the game. I got people begging me not to ever play Shama Sawant audio ever again, Kevin. They never want me to do that ever. Dude, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Well, hopefully with the way everything's going, we won't have to ever again.
That is the hope. That is the hope, that we don't have to do that ever again. The only audio we will allow to be played when she's gone is if something new happens or the construction workers yelling over her, "No head tax, no head tax, no head tax." I do like that audio. This one here, the 206 wants me to run for president. How do you think that's going to go, me versus J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio? I mean, hey, I like the idea. I could drive around in the Beast. That'd be fun. I want my own helicopter. I want my own airplane. I won't use the Qatari plane. I'll use something that Boeing builds for us instead. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want the Qatari plane. John says on the text line that I should run for mayor. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Here, Dennis, another one. Ari for president. You guys are cracking me up today. You know who wants to be president more than anybody else? Governor Jay Inslee. So Jay Inslee, I've been wondering when he was going to start posting again after becoming a national joke. I saw it on Fox making fun of him for claiming it was climate change behind all the fires. I was on Newsmax. They called me on Newsmax to be on Newsmax this morning to discuss Jay Inslee being a national joke. So I'm wondering when Jay Inslee's going to try and surgically remove his foot from his mouth. And it happened today. Okay, here we go. Should I put on my best Jay Inslee voice for this one? We'll do that. There's not the smoke in here today. I can handle it. This is what he posts. So, an arsonist is now under arrest for allegedly starting the Spokane fires, right? Jay Inslee claimed it was climate change. Well, it wasn't climate change, Jay. Most likely it was this arsonist who they caught with all things to start a fire with him, who witnesses saw him starting a fire, but that didn't stop Jay Inslee from climate change, climate change, climate change, climate change. In fact, here's what he said before the guy was arrested.
It's a beautiful morning here in Lopez Island, but I'm so concerned. Talked to my friend, a legislator in Spokane, whose home he had to evacuate because of these massive fires in Spokane County. The whole state's under threat now. Climate change. You know, climate change isn't some existential global thing. It's our neighbors. It's our friends. We got to fight for them.
We got to fight for him. We got to do that. We got to fight for him. Okay. Well, here's the thing, guys. Jay Inslee looked like an idiot when they have a suspected arsonist who's a convicted murderer in custody for this, who also last year was interviewed twice for allegedly starting fires. Okay. So Jay Inslee posts this over on X today. When you hear suspected arson, it's easy to think that wildfire has nothing to do with climate change. While severe drought, low snowpack, and heat didn't ignite this fire, that's why it's so big, destructive, and fast. Okay. All right. So you're admitting it wasn't climate change. You said, while severe drought, low snowpack, and heat didn't ignite this fire, that's why it's so big, destructive, and fast. Okay. Can we destroy this argument for a second here? Okay. Severe drought. You claimed that the Climate Commitment Act was going to mitigate the effects of floods and fires. One way you mitigate the effects of floods and fires is with dams and reservoirs, so you have more water. The West Coast is boom or bust when it comes to water. You either get a lot of rainfall, even here in Seattle, there's record rainfalls for us, and there's years where we don't get as much rainfall, all the way down to California. California does get rain a lot. You remember 2 years ago how they were just pumping that water into the Pacific Ocean because they had nowhere to go because they didn't have reservoirs, because they didn't have dams? And you know the added benefit you get from dams is you get power. You get hydroelectric power. But Jay Inslee don't roll that way. Jay Inslee wants to tear down the Snake River dams. So if the Climate Commitment Act was meant to mitigate the effects of climate change, why didn't you mitigate the effects of climate change? Why didn't you build more reservoirs? Why didn't you build more dams? And then you could have fought these fires. Then low snowpack wouldn't have been an issue. How about you do some of that, huh, Jay? Or wait a minute, how about the loggers? You know, loggers, when they cut down trees, they also plant new trees. They also take care of their forests. They also take care of their crops. They also have airplanes that fly over forests to look for fires. They also do thinning. They also do prescribed burns. They do all this stuff to keep their stock intact. But you shut that down. And you know the added benefit to having loggers, they pay taxes. And their taxes went to, wait for it, went to schools. Now you claim you don't have enough money for the schools. So, Jay, you did a really terrible job of trying to remove your foot from your mouth because now everybody knows you're a moron. In fact, there's a community note on your original post saying that it wasn't climate change, it was arson. Well done, Jay. Really, really well done. Unbelievable. Up next, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including more of your suggestions about how to fix elections around here, how to fix the GOP around here, and Katie Wilson and Girmay Zahilay are doubling down on their failed homeless policies. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. There is some very good news out of the election, by the way, regarding Katie Wilson. No, we're stuck with her for 3 years. She's not going anywhere. But what the good news is you know how Mamdani was endorsing all those candidates? And Mamdani's candidates were all winning with the Democratic Socialists of America? Katie Wilson got high on her own supply. And she said, I can do that too. I'm going to endorse a whole bunch of candidates. Well, 2 of the 3 of them got creamed. I mean, destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. One of them is going to the general anyway because no Republicans stepped up against Jamie Peterson. But I'm talking destroyed. So this shows that Katie Wilson has no political power. Shows her endorsement doesn't help. It might even hurt. 2 progressive candidates were in the 46th Legislative District, Ron Davis, who, oh, thank God, he finished a distant 3rd, receiving only 14% of the vote. So that's good news. And then you've got this other one. You've got the far left Looney Tune lady who's running against Jamie Peterson. I know, it's crazy. In that race, the most sane candidate is Jamie Peterson, right in Jimothy. Right in Jimothy for that race. This is the guy who supported the income tax and all these other crazy policies. No way. There is nobody to vote for in this race. Republicans are MIA. So this guy who colluded with the Attorney General's office to create the income tax and then try to circumvent the Constitution. So he got 71% of the vote. This woman, what's her face here? Hannah Sabio Howell. Remember all these lefties were talking about, oh my God, she's got to do so well. And all these polls are saying, oh my God, she's got to do so well. And I said, look at that poll again. Is that coming from a lefty group? She got 18% of the vote. 18% of the vote. So I don't think that Katie Wilson endorsement helped her very much. In fact, if Katie Wilson endorses it, it's probably a bad idea, like the King County Regional Homeless Authority. So this announcement comes out yesterday. It's a joint announcement from King County and from Seattle, from Girmay Zahilay and Katie Wilson. Sorry, it came out Monday. Now, the King County Regional Homeless Authority has been under fire for the fact that they lose millions of dollars, that they don't spend them effectively, and for the billions of dollars they've gotten, aside from the fraud, they have managed to make homelessness worse. When homelessness was declared an emergency 20 years ago now almost, there were 2,000 homeless people in King County. Now there's 16,000. That's because you guys are paying for it. You guys are incentivizing it. You are making it worse. So what they have done is they said they're going to transition service contracts, which means to help the homeless in theory, which means to provide drug treatment in theory. They're going to transfer all that back to King County and the city of Seattle. So that means you're getting rid of the King County Regional Homeless Authority, right? That means you're going to get rid of it? Nope. No. They're gonna keep it going. What is the point of keeping an agency going when you just took away all their money? And you're going to give it back to Seattle and King County because they do a bang-up job with all that. We know from Seattle, allegedly, Katie Wilson has been paying the organizations that have been doing other outreach work for her. So this is going to be great. One of them showed up to ambush her at a press conference when she was dealing with Bite of Seattle. So what's the point of keeping the King County Regional Homeless Authority chugging if they don't have no money no more, if they're not providing services anymore? Well, I'll tell you why. So that their buddies can keep their massive salaries. So their incompetent friends were so incompetent that homelessness went from 2,000 to 16,000 people in King County. They were so incompetent they lost track of millions of dollars. They are so incompetent they misspent millions of dollars, and there are lots of allegations of fraud. But you know what? Pat, tussle. Keep your jobs. It's fine. You know, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody loses $40 billion, right? Kevin, I lost $40 million the other day, right? Well, radio money ain't TV money. No, neither of us will ever see $40 million. But they just lost $40 million. Homeless has gotten worse. That's why they're not shutting this thing down. Interestingly enough, our friends over at the Washington Policy Center got an op-ed in the Seattle Times. I was shocked. And what they were calling out was how Washington State has the nation's worst performing homeless system in the U.S. and is now defending it in federal court. This was by Eric Zimmerman. He argued that Washington fights for what has arguably been the worst performing statewide homelessness response in modern times. According to HUD data cited, Washington experienced a 418% increase in chronic homelessness between 2014 and 2024, the highest increase of any state in the U.S. Only California has more chronically homeless residents overall. What's chronically homeless? That means people who stay homeless. You offer them an apartment? Nope. You offer them drug treatment? Nope. These are people who just stay on the streets. Chronically homeless. Why would you want to be chronically homeless in Seattle? Well, we know they give you gift cards, and they give you drug paraphernalia, and they give you cell phones, and they give you an apartment. They give you whatever you want. They give you whatever you want. Washington State has an average per capita homelessness rate 82% higher than other states in 2024. Between 2014 and 2024, homelessness grew an average of 43% in these states, compared to just 3% elsewhere. So what's happening is you've got Nick Brown and crew suing the Trump administration for cutting off their funding. And meanwhile, all these states that are suing for cutting off their funding are saying, we did a bad job, but we'll do a better job next time. The numbers in these states, kudos to Eric Zimmerman for doing this whole analysis about the numbers in these states, because they're an absolute disaster. Why would you keep funding this? Says the Washington Policy Center has long advocated for shifting homelessness policy toward treatment, recovery, and accountability, rather than housing first without benefits of behavioral health requirements. So, he also noted that Washington led the nation in 2022, 2023, and 2024 in opioid overdoses. Great! Fantastic. The state ranked 29th nationally in overdose deaths in 2014, but by 2024, it climbed to 4th, representing the largest increase of any state over that period. Wow. Well done, guys. We should definitely give them more money. Definitely give them a lot more money. In fact, we should vote more money for the library so they could take care of the home. Oh, wait a minute. We did that. Right. Seattle literally voted more money for the libraries, and that library levy wasn't about libraries. It was about the homeless. It was about DEI. All you had to do is actually read the thing. It's all right in there. But here's what we're giving money towards. Our friend Savannah Hernandez from Turning Point USA's Frontlines was actually at one of our libraries, and here's what she found.
Let's go check out the state-of-the-art computer bays on the 5th floor. Now, again, to highlight my point about how unfamily-friendly this public library is, when I first got off the elevator, this homeless dude started staring at me and making sexual gestures.
Now, hang on a second. You can see behind him what he's looking at on the computer in the video. What do you think the homeless dude is looking at on the computer? It looked like pictures of women. I couldn't tell if they were clothed or not, but those look like ladies on that computer.
When I put this audio in, I did the same thing. I looked. It was like it wasn't pornography per se, but it was pictures of ladies, like almost like I don't want to make a guess, but kind of like stalking. They're average lady pictures. So
it was kind of weird. Like they were headshots. Of women.
It was like headshots.
Headshots.
Like image searches of headshots of ladies or something.
Yes, and he was making some. Well, whatever. We don't need to elaborate for the
I
kiddies
can
in the back of the
elaborate. It's
car.
nothing. He's like flicking his tongue at her.
Yeah, it's weird. First of all, that's impressive that he can do that. But second of all, I mean, it's like it's obscene.
It's very creepy and gross, man.
Very creepy and gross, especially when you're looking at pictures of women on the computer, and then Savannah Hernandez comes out,
and then turning around and like, oh look, there's a lady here. Let's do this.
Yes. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Creepy. Very, very creepy. Here's what else she found while she was there.
I immediately made it clear that I was disgusted and started recording him in hopes that it would deter him, but nope, he kept going. Anyway, I went back to tour the computer bays after he left, and it was way dirtier than I was expecting it to be. Now, the majority of people sitting here are homeless, and not only are they bringing in all of their belongings, but also they often leave a huge mess on the floor, and as you can see, there are crumbs everywhere, large black stains. That's one thing that did jump out to me about this library. A large majority of the fabric chairs are straight up stained in black, and they're just a lot dirtier than you would expect the furniture in a $125 million library to be.
This library that the homeless are destroying is actually even more expensive than $150 million. It was $165.9 million The vast majority of it was taxpayer funded, and Bill Gates put in $20 million for the library.
Do you know which one they're talking about? The main one in downtown Seattle. The one that has a homeless shelter in its basement. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Mario and Kent. Mario, make it quick, buddy. I don't have a lot of time, but it's good to hear from you. What's going on?
Oh, real good. Hey, I was just kind of disappointed that we keep voting for the same buffoons in my district, Adam Smith, and then that Yaya Paul, two incompetent buffoons. That is sickening. But that, Ari, like we have discussed before, they just skipped a Senate hearing on the Muslim Brotherhood. All the Democrats and El Said, he's a terrorist sympathizer, and that's really all they don't give a damn about the United States, and excuse my English. And I've harped on this before with you. These guys are completely a disgrace to the constitutional republic, and they don't give a hoot about our country or our laws. And in a way, they allowed them in there, and now they're being taken over, and they deserve everything they're getting.
Yep, absolutely. And here's the thing. The episode title today is Washington Voters Are Suicidal. They voted for this. It's like Stockholm Syndrome. It's the worst thing ever. Mario, God bless you, my friend. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, we got a lot more to discuss, including one of the candidates who's running for King County Assessor saw I didn't vote for any of them, decided to reach out and explain to me why we should choose them, even though they're endorsed by all the Democrats. Fun conversation up next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Today's Newsmaker Spotlight brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, Western Washington, windows and doors for every home. Well, I had a little fun with my ballot because there were so many races where I didn't like any of the candidates in those races that I actually started writing Jimothy, and then I posted it on social media. For the race of the King County Assessor, a couple of the candidates got in touch with me and said, hey, can we talk? One of them joins us now on the KVI studio line. It's Chris Roberts, who's running for King County Assessor. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Happy to be here with you.
I really appreciate you reaching out. Sometimes people who are endorsed by as many Democrats as you are avoid me, so I really appreciate the proactive effort.
I think that it's important to reach out to everyone in King County. I'm on the Shoreline City Council, and I have to serve every resident of the Shoreline, whether they voted for me or they didn't vote for me.
I like that line of thinking. So let's start. What are you about? What do you want to do as King County Assessor?
Well, first, a couple of things. I've learned in my time on Shoreline City Council that integrity matters a lot for public trust, and that good government means doing the little things right. It means for the city council, it means fixing potholes. It means responding timely to 911 calls. It means being transparent and managing a budget well. And I want to take those principles of caring about good government, caring about transparency, and to serve the people of King County so we can help people stay in their homes.
What a refreshing take. I mean, really focusing on the basics as opposed to all the insanity. Now, Chris, what do you want to do to bring down the affordability crisis, to bring it lower? Because I'm looking at downtown Seattle, for example, having some of the highest office vacancy rates in the entire U.S., and yet property values are going up. I look at my house where they keep talking about how all these people are leaving Washington. You're talking about a mass exodus of people leaving Washington, companies leaving Washington, and yet my values keep going up. Whatever math is being used on Sound Transit for my car tab seems to be being used on my house as well.
Right. So what we have in Washington is we have a budget-based system for property taxes. So at the jurisdiction level, and I'm just going to talk about Shoreline for a minute, but it applies to King County, applies to Sound Transit, applies to every other jurisdiction in King County, is that the city of Shoreline can collect so many dollars per year, and then in the next year it can collect 1% more, and then plus any new construction. And so what happens is if a jurisdiction can collect $1 million 1 year, what it's going to do is going to take that $1 million and say, look at how much each individual property is worth. And then it's going to say, if your property is 1% of the total amount we can collect, then you're going to pay 1% of the total taxes that the jurisdiction can collect. And so it doesn't necessarily matter how much your property is increasing or how much your property is decreasing. What matters is what percentage of the total assessed value is your property. So if my property is 1% of the total valuation, I'm going to pay 1% of the taxes. Right. And so what we've seen over especially the last 5 years, is we've seen office valuations for offices and sales of offices in downtown Seattle and in cities across the country dramatically decrease. So over 50% in some areas. And so what that means is that residential properties, which have seen increases in Seattle and other places around the country, but again, we'll stick with Washington, what's happening is that now our properties are now a greater percentage of the total valuation of the jurisdiction. So residential properties are paying more and commercial properties are paying less.
Right. So how do we fix that? How do we fix that problem?
There are a couple ways, but there really is no great fix. I'll admit that. And the legislature is the one that's going to has to make these decisions. We have a uniformity clause in Washington's Constitution, which prevents the cities in the state from having different tax rates for different types of property. So you have to treat residential property the same as commercial property. Other states don't have a uniformity clause and have different rates for different classifications of properties.
Well, it's refreshing to hear somebody who's got such a control of the facts, which is great. But my problem is what you just said, which is if the legislature can do something about it, doesn't that kind of make the King County assessor irrelevant?
That's an interesting way. What the assessor does is going to use there's two things the assessor does. One is the valuation of properties, and to make sure you use the right methodology to appraise a particular property. It's easy when there are lots of comparable sales, so lots of 1,400 square foot sales within King County. It's pretty easy to figure out what the value of those properties are. But for more unique properties, it becomes harder and harder to figure out what the true value is. And so you have to have good appraisers in the office, and King County has very good appraisers. It's an award-winning department. And so they are the ones who figure out the valuation of the properties. The other piece that the assessor does is provide information to property owners across the county about the tax exemptions that the legislature has provided. The biggest one being the property tax exemption for seniors, people with disabilities, and veterans.
Gotcha. Well, we're talking with Chris Roberts, who's running for King County assessor. And I think the thing that's troubling me is you obviously have a control over the facts and the position, which is refreshing because so many times people run for it and going, I'm going to represent the Democrats, or I'm going to represent the Republicans, or I'm going to represent Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whatever it is, and don't actually know anything about the job. So clearly you know about the job. But the problem I have is when you reached out and when I was doing my research on you, you're endorsed by a whole bunch of the people that made everything very expensive, including many, many of the Democrats in the legislature. So if they endorse you, I'm kind of concerned they're endorsing you because they want things to continue getting more expensive. I don't believe they actually want valuations to go down or that they want the cost to go down. What would you say to that, sir?
I would first say that I think many of the people who support me really believe strongly and care about good governance, and especially for a position like assessor. Many of these individuals have worked with me. They've seen how I've worked with the Sound Cities Association to advocate for cities across the county, from Enumclaw and Algona all the way to Kenmore and Bothell. My colleagues elected me to serve as the chair of the Public Issues Committee within the Sound Cities organization. And so they know that I care about good governance first, that they know that I'm going to be the one who sits down and asks the tough questions and holds people accountable. And then, I'm also pleased because of that. I'm endorsed by several local Republican city council members, Bill Boyce in Kent, and former council member Joseph Simomo in Covington. They know that I care about good governance first, even as I'm a Democrat.
Well, Chris, if people want to learn more about you, if people want to donate to your campaign, if people want to volunteer for you, what's the best way for them to do so?
The best way they can find me is to go to electroberts.com or just give in my number's there. So just give me a call, and I'm the one who's going to be picking up the phone.
Well, Christopher Roberts, I wish you the best of luck in your race for King County Assessor. We get another ballot drop today. We'll find out how you're doing in that race. But also, I want to say this, is that I really appreciate you reaching out. I really, really do, and asking to come on the show and saying, hey, give me a chance, even though you know that you didn't have my vote at the time. And I truly do respect that, and I appreciate you taking the time today.
Well, thank you very much, and go Jimothy.
Chris Roberts for King County Assessor, thank you so much for joining us today. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. We're going to keep you updated with election results, not just today, but all week and all month, because, you know, it's mail-in balloting around here, and that's how it happens. Now, one race that's interesting is John Braun is opening up a bit of a lead over Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez in the 3rd Congressional District. It was just a few hundred votes before. Now it's about 1,000 votes separate the two. And the momentum appears to be on John Braun's side. Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez is in a purple district. Last 2 times she ran against Joe Kent, and that worked in her advantage. But now when you're running against somebody like John Braun, who is a Washington State Senator, Senate Minority Leader for the Republicans here in the Washington State Legislature, looks like she's not competing the way she was before. So this is actually very, very encouraging. John Braun still has a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do because, like I said, Brent Henrich is a Democrat also, and he's got another 16% of the vote, which a lot of people are going to assume goes to Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. Not if he's a more radical version. The radicals might stay home like they did for Kamala Harris in the election against Trump. Speaking of Trump, by the way, you know it's a crazy day in Washington when it takes me until 1:45 to talk about another assassination attempt of President Trump. An armed man was arrested on Sunday with a stash of weapons and body armor outside Trump National Golf Course in Los Angeles just 2 days before the president's visit to California. I don't think the dude should go golfing anymore. I really don't. Was this the second, third attempt on him while he was golfing? Janine John Teal from Downey, California, was arrested outside the Rancho Palo Verde site in plainclothes FBI officers after they determined he was engaged in suspicious activity. According to the New York Post, the agents found the man with the illegally modified AR platform rifle, body armor, 2 radio signal devices, high-capacity magazine, multiple notebooks that had been described as concerning statements. There have been 3 known previous attempts on the president's life since 2024. Deputies with the Lomita Sheriff Station responded to the golf course at around 3:28 p.m. on Sunday after the plainclothes officers spotted the suspicious individual walking on the golf course grounds. The man was taking photos and video of the golf course when he was spotted by authorities. After the deputies made contact with him, they discovered he was under active investigation for robbery by the El Suengo Police Department. When they searched his person, officers found a 16-round magazine with hollow point ammunition. Authorities later searched his vehicle, where they found a pistol with a round in the chamber and other magazines. He was arrested for carrying concealed firearm with illegal ammunition. A search warrant was later executed at his home. The case is now under investigation, being handled by the Secret Service as well as the FBI. Now, he was charged earlier today, and the charges we have against this guy, let me just pull up some court documents here. Let's see what we got here. He was charged with possession of an unregistered short-barreled rifle, which is a felony carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. That's probably the first of many charges he's going to get. That's just the one they're holding him on right now. Said he was detained after taking the pictures and videos. We said let's see what else. He also has a separate firearm-related charge in Los Angeles Superior Court and was granted $250,000 bail in that case. Sounds like a really safe individual. The U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California said Teal was detained after being seen taking photos and video of security planning activities ahead of President Trump's visit to the golf club today. Los Angeles, deputies found ammunition in his pocket, searched his vehicle, seized a loaded pistol with a round chambered in a loaded magazine, a search of his residence, seized high-powered firearms, ammunition, body armor, and a notebook. He's charged in the Los Angeles Superior Court with firearm-related crimes for the 2025 robbery. So this guy looks about the way you'd expect him to look, and I wonder what's actually in his little journal. Wonder when the FBI is going to be releasing that, or the Secret Service. Would love to see what he actually wrote. Up next, more election results and Jay Inslee being stupid, but that's just a day ending in Y. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, elections weren't just locally, they were also in Michigan. And interesting, we got a full-on terrorist supporter who's running for Senate for the Democrats right now. But before we get to any of that, earlier in the show, we had our little vent session. We had our vent session where I railed against the GOP, and I talked about all the things they didn't do in this election. Well, we like to do solutions on this show. So here's what we need to do if you want to win in Washington State. And this election presents unique opportunities. So for the general election, you see a lot of people who are trailing. A lot of Republicans who are trailing that we want to win. Any of you who are listening right now, or any of your political people who are listening right now, or any of your friends who are listening right now, this is for you. It's also for everybody else in our audience because this is going to take a heavy lift from you guys. First things first. Why do you want them to win? It can't be you want them to win because they're a Republican and the other guys are Democrats. You want them to win because they're going to do something. What's the main issue right now? Affordability, affordability. Take the Democrats' messaging and use it to your advantage. Every single word out of your mouth should be about affordability. And it should be, Democrats passed the Climate Commitment Act. My opponent voted for the Climate Commitment Act. My opponent spiked your gas prices by 50 cents a gallon. My opponent voted for other taxes, which raised the price of gas up to $1.33 more than other states nearby, like Idaho. And more expensive gas means your groceries are more expensive, means everything else is more expensive, and none of that is Donald Trump's fault. Now, to make matters worse, you know what they're doing? They passed an income tax on you. Oh, they say it's for millionaires. But then why? When you were asked to make that part of the law and say it's just going to be for millionaires, you refused to do so. The repeal of the income tax is on the ballot, and Washington has voted against an income tax 11 times before. My opponent voted for it. Even though the will of the people, the will of Washingtonians is not to have an income tax, my opponent voted for it. That is your entire campaign. If the Democrats want to make this about affordability, then let's make it about affordability. You vote for me, things are going to be cheaper in Washington State. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS, KISS. That is all you should be talking about. That's it. They want to talk about Trump, you pivot back to this. Yes, the war in Iran made things more expensive, but that only shot things up by about 10 cents a gallon. My opponent raised your price of gas by $1.33 a gallon, not Donald Trump. My opponent voted for that insanity with the chickens, that now your eggs cost more money. My opponent is the one making your groceries more expensive. And you know something else? My opponent doesn't believe in law and order, which is why your groceries are under lock and key and plexiglass. I went to Maryland. I was in Maryland. I was in Silver Spring, Maryland, at the suburb outside Baltimore. I went to a grocery store while I was there in D.C. for the 4th of July. I couldn't believe that outside of Baltimore, they don't have the plexiglass over everything. You can actually just walk up and take things off the shelf and put them right in your cart. I forgot what that was like because I'm so used to shopping at Unsafeway. That's that. Number 2, focus on the races you can win and stop with these Trump purity tests. Stop. The King County GOP is all about these Trump purity tests. They really are. It's how MAGA can you be? A whole bunch of MAGA people took over the King County GOP. And you know what I find entertaining about that? There's one candidate on here, Jared Sessler, who they endorsed, who's not endorsed by President Trump. But Amanda McKinley, who is endorsed by President Trump, isn't on their endorsed list. So literally, the candidate endorsed by Trump is not endorsed by the King County GOP, who use MAGA as a purity test. As I said, Trump wouldn't pass the purity test. Well, there's a perfect example for it. Stop at these purity tests. Stop it. Are there Democrats that are actually more moderate? Not a lot of them, but there's a couple of them. And in those races, you got to get them through. I am going to update my voters guide once we have the final results of the primary, because these election results tell me something interesting. As bad as this is for the GOP, Washington State decided to vote blue again, but they did so for a few reasons, and they did something interesting. They rejected the crazies. If you look, a lot of the socialists, a lot of the far-left candidates, like Shama Sawant, are losing, and losing big time. The candidates that Katie Wilson endorsed are losing huge, losing massively, because it seems like the Democrats in this state said, we want Democrats, but we don't want those Democrats. That's an opportunity. So if they draw the line at crazy, then guess what? You got two other initiatives on the ballot this time. Parental rights and keeping boys out of girls' sports. These are winning issues even here in Washington. 80-20 issues even here in Washington. No income tax, parents knowing what's going on with their kids at school, and boys out of girls' sports. And those are all on the ballot. There's a messaging problem. That messaging isn't getting out there, and that's the messaging you got to run with. In the judge races, which are not looking too good right now, you have to completely change the conversation. The reason we need moderate judges at the Washington State Supreme Court is affordability. It's affordability because the case on the income tax is going to go before the Washington State Supreme Court. And we need affordability. We need it. Got to make sure we have it. Got to have it. And if you take Bob Ferguson's buddies who have no judicial experience, who support his income tax, you're going to be stuck with an income tax. That's what it's about in the judges' races. Once again, the exact same argument. Affordability, 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 affordability. As James Carville says, it's the economy, stupid, right? That's what you have to focus on. That's what you have to focus on. They want to talk about fairness. They want to talk about fair share. Cool, let's talk about boys being out of girls' sports. Why is it fair that boys get to compete in girls' sports? This is how you win this election. But it's going to take something else from all of you. And here's what it's going to take. It's going to take you guys going out there and knocking on doors. It's going to take you guys donating to Let's Go Washington, because the GOP can't do this on its own. It's going to take you guys helping out with these races. It is not enough to just vote anymore. It's not. You have to have something to fight for. You have to have something to fight for. You have to make sure that you have a reason, not just we don't like Democrats. These are the Democrats who are responsible for all the insanity here in Washington. My opponent is responsible for that. That person running in my district, and you have to tell your friends that. So you're not running for office? That's fine. You tell your friends. You tell your friends. That is the person who did that. You're mad about your gas prices. You're mad about the cost of living around here. That person did it. Vote the other way. Oh, so it's a Republican. Okay, they're moderate Republicans here in Washington. Let's be real about it. That, and you have to get the youth vote out. You have to get the kids who think they're never going to buy a house here, the kids in your churches, the kids in your synagogues. You have to get those kids out and voting. Not the children, I mean, who can't vote, but they don't check voter ID here. What I mean is the people who are actually college age, who are looking for their first job. You need to get them out and voting. And you need to go to groups. Like, 1 million Christians didn't vote in the last election here in Washington State. 1 million Christians. That's the difference in the election. You got to go out to the churches. You got to go out to the synagogues. I do it in my synagogue every week. I'm very proud that my synagogue has very drastically switched its politics. I mean, it doesn't have politics. The synagogue doesn't have politics. The people in it have politics. I'm very, very proud of how red my synagogue has gone. You can do that with your churches. You can do that just by having conversations. I know that at my synagogue, after you're done with services every single week, guess what you do? You have a thing called Kiddush. There's food and there's alcohol. And you drink and you talk about politics, and that's what you do. Put the party back in Republican Party. If you don't do that, we will continue to lose. If you don't do that, we will continue to lose. And then you need to build towards the next election. Are you involved in the GOP? Are you involved in Let's Go Washington? Are you involved in these organizations? You need to get involved. It's not enough to just vote anymore. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Carol in Buckley. Carol, did you vote?
Yes, I always vote. I always have voted.
Excellent, Carol. When did you get your ballot in? Did you mail it in early?
Yes, we did.
Excellent. You may stay on the phone line today, Carol. Other people who did not vote, we are going to hang up on them, but you get a gold star today, okay?
Thank you. Well, just what you just said is just what I'm thinking, and I'm not just thinking about Washington State. First of all, I am a 86-year-old grandma and great-grandma of 45 people in my family that I have begosses. And I'm so afraid of them going socialist. And so you just told me I need to tell them and get them voting right. But what I called about was what makes me mad is feminine liberty, or whatever they call themselves, a feminist. They are too liberal to be running big cities like New York and Seattle.
You'd be like Katie Wilson types. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, I don't know why women vote for these women or why men vote for men have the common sense. Women are flighty. They can change their minds anytime. Men stick to what they say they're going to do.
Carol, are you suggesting that we end women's suffrage?
Yeah, fine. Get rid of it.
Well, Carol, you got a gold star for voting. I don't want to take away your vote, Carol.
No,
but
I didn't know that. I thought you meant the other thing, the feminist, whatever they call it.
No, Carol. Women's suffrage movement. That's the one that gave women the right to vote. I don't want to take away your right to vote there, Carol.
No, I'm sorry. Cross that out. But what? So that was my first thing. Women have no business running major cities. That's what I thought.
Well, I'll tell you. Wait, 1 second. I'll let you finish, Carol. I'll let you finish. But here's what I want you to do, okay? If you're worried about your kids going socialist, you know how you stop that? Here's how you stop that. You ready? You go, do you want my money when I pass away? Please, God, you should have a long life, 200 years, 300 years, Carol, okay? But you go, do you want my money? Because guess what's going to happen if you vote socialist? The government's going to take my money. And you don't want that. So if you want my money, you got to go for this. Continue, Carol. You're doing great.
Okay. Now, I think that the homeless people should go to mental hospitals and get them all off the streets and put them all in mental hospitals.
That's crazy, Carol. You actually want people to be held accountable for their actions. You actually want people to go to drug treatment and be off the street. Carol, you make too much sense. You make too much sense, Carol. Carol, here's what I want you to do. So I'm not going to ask an 80-year-old woman to go out and knock on doors. Do you go walking with your friends, or you kind of stay at home more often?
Well, I live on my children's property, and to walk, it would be like a mile to the next house.
Okay, so we're not going to ask you to go knocking on doors. Do you meet with your friends like once a week or something?
Yeah, I go to church, and I know most of my church members, being here in Buckley, they're farmers and so forth. They're probably all conservatives, but I should start questioning them. You know, between services, we have a time to talk.
There you go. Carol, you have an advantage. You know what it is? People in church, people in synagogues, they listen to their elders. And you know what they also do? When they're as feisty as you, they actually take it to heart. And even if the person you're talking to across from you is going, crazy old bat, I'm not going to listen to her. It's all the people in the crowd around you. It's all the people in the crowd around you who are going, you know what? Carol makes a good point. And Carol's been on this earth a lot of years, and Carol knows what she's talking about. God bless you, Carol. May you have a very long life, and thank you for the call. Do appreciate it. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Okay, Carol, if you're still listening, I'm going to show you how you had an impact. We just got a text from my friend Matt. He wrote, Yas Slay Queen. Okay, for the kids in the audience, that's a good thing, Carol. All right, that's a good thing. That's you know, the verbiage of my children going, yes, Carol, you said everything right. Oh, wait, here, Jeff. Jeff says Carol for mayor. Okay, see, Carol, changing hearts and minds already, Carol. Keep it up, Carol. You're doing a great job. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Donald. Which Donald is this? Donald in Vancouver. How you doing?
Eric, I'm calling from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. How's it going? I've been following you and Jonathan Chow.
Oh, thank you. Wait a second. I got a question for you, Donald. Are you allowed to vote in the U.S. or you're from Canada?
I'm from Canada, and I'm not allowed to vote in the U.S. If I was going to vote, I wouldn't vote for a socialist dirtbag, Katie Wilson, who basically took 5 hours for a press conference, and she basically doesn't care. We have the same problem up here in Canada with here in Vancouver with open drug use problems, people not going to rehab, people stabbing each other, and basically how do I say it? Stabbing each other, cops not putting these people in jail, our crown prosecutors just don't give her. I'm going to try to watch what I say on the air.
Watch what you say on the air. Hang on a second. Donald, let me help you out a little bit, okay? There's a video I made years ago. I think it actually got censored from the internet. You can find it over on Rumble called Injected. I went up and made an undercover video in the injection sites in Vancouver, British Columbia about what they actually do in these places.
Video.
You've seen that video. Yeah.
I've seen that video, but I'll tell you right now, as a person with a disability, we have the problem here with trans people here, too, getting away with stuff, basically lying, basically putting people in jail. I went to jail because of a transgender activist named Jessica Jonathan Eve, but which I can't talk about because there's a investigation on the go about this individual. But we have a lot of problems here in the socialist dictating country of Canada here. We're now basically, police now want to basically censor your free speech. That's been blown up here big time. So you say something the wrong way, now you're going to get a knock on your door because of Bill C-9.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to say, I'll tell you right now.
Aren't you guys still under the king? And don't they do that in the UK right now? You post the wrong thing on social media, they show up and they arrest you?
Oh, they're actually doing it now here in Canada in some places.
Oh, thank God I'm American.
I'll tell you right now here, I'll tell you, people should not come to Canada. It's turning into a communist country. I'll tell you, I'm sorry to say it, but as a Canadian, it's a communist dirtbag hole.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, Donald. Donald, I have an idea for you. Then I got to run, okay? I have an idea for you.
Yeah.
You should say you're a refugee, and then you get to come to the United States, and you come as a political refugee.
You know what? I was going to actually do that. Then you get free housing, free money here in Canada.
No. That's Joe Biden. That's Joe Biden gives you all the free stuff. No. Joe Biden gives you all the free stuff.
I know, but here in Canada, you can come up here anytime you want and basically claim refugee status. They give you $50,000.
Yeah.
They give you more money.
Yeah.
They give you everything.
So wait a second. Then you can come here, Donald, and then you can go back there and claim refugee status, and they'll give you free money. Donald, appreciate the perspective.
No.
God bless you, man. Stay safe up there. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, somebody doesn't like our conversation here. I just got an email of somebody telling me to kill myself. Well, it seems like somebody really doesn't like my take on life. They called me a bald P word also, which was very, very nice. The nice emails we get. Another satisfied customer here on the Ari Hoffman Show. As they say, if you're taking flack, that means you're over the target. Thank you, whoever you are with the random email address that probably doesn't actually exist. Do appreciate that real-time death threat. Thank you so much. Up next, my friends, Washington wasn't the only ones that had primaries last night. Michigan had them too. And you think the news is bad here? Wait till I tell you what's going on over there and what it means for you. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So somebody sent me this morning. University of Washington is having a new keynote speaker coming out here, my friends. The Office of Public Lecture presents an evening with Hasan Piker. Okay, for those of you who don't know who Hasan Piker is, he is basically the spokesman for Abdul al-Sayed, the Muslim Brotherhood crazy lunatic terrorist who's running out of Michigan for Senate, who won the primary by the skin of his teeth last night. Now, for those of you who think to yourself, what's the big deal? He'll probably lose to Rogers. It's probably not a big deal. Let me remind you about another progressive candidate. There was this progressive candidate who came out of nowhere, absolutely out of nowhere. And he had some ties to the Weather Underground, you know, those terrorists from the 1960s who blew up the Capitol. And he used to sit in the church of this pastor, this reverend who would just spout off about how much he hates America. And he sat there for 20 years. And then he decided to run for Senate one day, and people talked about him like he was the next great thing. And then he accomplished absolutely nothing in the Senate. And after a year and a half, decides to run for president, and that's Barack Obama. Look at the Democrat field for a second. We got Pete Buttigieg, edge. You got Pete. I saw he was wearing a jacket again. They're better fitting now, but he's got facial hair. So now he looks like a grown-up. Yeah, they're not voting for Mayor Pete. You got Kamala Harris. That's not going to happen. You got Gavin Newsom. All of a sudden, you go, oh, well, you know, that Josh Shapiro guy is really qualified. Nope, can't have the Jew. No Jews. Can't allow it. Can't have the Jew running. But he agrees with us on everything except for Israel. Nope, no Jews. So who do we got left? You know, that Mamdani wave was really something. That Mamdani wave. Can we make that happen nationally? Can we do that? Yeah, let's try it with the guy from the Muslim Brotherhood. Yeah, by the way, he's an American citizen and he was born here. He was born here, this lunatic terrorist type. So his spokesman, Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker is a streamer who basically streams his entire day, goes to the bathroom, eats, whatever. Behind him, he has the cover of the New York Times after 9/11 because he celebrates 9/11. He says America deserved 9/11. That's not all the crazy stuff this guy said.
Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
America deserved 9/11, dude. It. I'm saying it.
My favorite flag?
Yeah.
Hezbollah.
His favorite flag is Hezbollah. That guy is being brought out by the University of Washington to speak here. Oh, by the way, he dresses like Mao and talks about how great communism was in the Soviet Union and in communist China. What, 30, 40 million people died because of that? That's who is running Abdul al-Sayed's campaign. That's who's running it. This is the guy who, after a Hezbollah-inspired terrorist drove into a synagogue in Michigan because, apparently he was mad that his terrorist Hezbollah brother got blown up by Israel. Sayed said, hurt people do hurt things. He's endorsed by Bernie Sanders, AOC, Rashida Tlaib. Oh, endorsed by the terrorists. Great. Back the mass release of murderers and rapists. Refused to comment on the Ayatollah being killed because it was sad. Blame the United States for Islamic terror. Double down on campaigning with terrorist sympathizer Hasan Piker. Encourages illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses. This is who this guy is. He wants to abolish ICE. This is a guy who marched in BLM protests while calling for the draconian COVID lockdowns. That's who al-Sayed is. And he won last night. Now, you would think that because it was such a close race, him and Stevens, she's the one who looks like Chris Farley doing the van down by the river skit. That's her. That's who she looks like, right? It's no wonder that she lost. So anywho, this is what Hasan Piker said after that. Kevin, you got this censored, right? Because every other word is the F-bomb. We hope so. Kevin's got his fingers crossed. Every other word out of this guy, whenever he talks, is the you-know-what bomb. Hang on. We'll roll the dice on this and see.
Like, everyone being like, Abdullah's a ton of work to do mending bridges. Here's the take nuke for you, okay?
You are all unbelievably Islamophobic pieces of shit, okay?
Okay, he's literally in with the Muslim Brotherhood. You literally believe that America deserved 9/11. That's what he feels about trying to work with Democrats. This is the guy who says he wants to get rid of Schumer. This is the guy who says he wants to get rid of Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries, up until 2 minutes ago, was the left flank of this party. That's who is the spokesperson for Abdul al-Sayed. So a reporter asked al-Sayed if campaigning with this lunatic was a good idea. He doubled down.
You know, there's one other guy that you've campaigned with that has raised eyebrows, Hasan Piker.
His eyebrows went up. Did you guys see that?
As I said, raised eyebrows. I raised my eyebrows. Was campaigning with him a good idea?
Look, I want to reach out to his viewers. He has a 3 million person platform. And there are things that Hasan and I disagree with, if you watched any of our content together. And there are things that he and I agree with.
Yeah, I watched the thing. You guys don't disagree on anything. Nothing at all. You guys agree on the exact same things. I think maybe one of you likes Hamas better than Hezbollah. That might be what you disagree on. That's it. That's what you disagree on. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. This guy might be the next senator from Michigan. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Hank in Squim. Hank, what's going on, man?
Not much. I did vote.
Excellent. I was about to ask you that next. When did you vote?
Socialist. I voted socialist all the way down so I could quit my job, get a bunch of free stuff.
Oh, that's very, very good. Do you identify as homeless as well?
Hey, I wanted to just make a comment / question. I don't know, it was 3 or 4 years ago when we voted on the $35 tabs for our vehicles. In the state, overwhelmingly, we all voted for it.
Yeah.
And then the state rejected it. And I called them up and asked them, I was like, because I was curious. And they said the reason why they rejected it was because it was written wrong in the pamphlet and people didn't understand the question. So that's why they rejected it. It's like, no, we didn't misunderstand. That's $35 tab. We all understood it really well. That's why we voted for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know we're paying cheaper now than we were like in the 90s. I was paying like $350 a year for my new truck back in the 90s, so it's still cheaper. But this state is really frustrating, Ari.
Well, here's the thing. That's why you need to make sure with the judges. Well, you got to turn down the radio. I'm hearing myself. Hank, turn down your radio. Okay, good. Okay. So here's the thing there, Hank, is that regarding the $30 car tabs, it was a little bit longer than that, but yes, we did vote for it. But who stood in the way of it was the Washington State Supreme Court. And that's why you have all these justices on the ballot this time. And if you vote Ferguson, all the people he appointed, all his buddies, all the people who gave money to his campaign, guess what's going to happen? They're going to back his income tax. They're going to back his income tax when it gets challenged. That's why the judges' races are so important. Appreciate the call, Hank. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, I took a little tour to the Museum of History and Industry to see some of the founding documents of our nation and speak with the curator about it. Give you all details on that when we come back and why you should go check out this exhibit. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Earlier today, young Zach and I went out to the Museum of History and Industry. And I want to thank our friends at Renewal by Andersen, Western Washington Windows and Doors for Every Home for sponsoring the Newsmaker Spotlight today, because we went on location for this interview to the Museum of History and Industry. They have a tour special for the 250th anniversary. Some of the founding documents of our country are touring. Well, somebody's bringing them around. They're not walking around by themselves. Are touring the U.S., and they have these documents on display. And some are down there right now. What's fascinating was the line was absolutely insane to see them today, because so many people want to see them. Give a listen to my interview with the curator of the museum about these documents, why they're so important, and what you can expect to see at the exhibit, even if you can't make it down here to Seattle. I'm here with Leonard Garfield, who is the curator of the Museum of History and Industry. And I used to come here all the time with my kids. I came for the baseball exhibit when you guys had the one with before the All-Star game. I came here for that one. I love this museum. But you have something very special that's on display right now.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Ari, it's kind of amazing. We have something called the Freedom Plane, Documents That Forged a Nation. These are the foundational documents that shape American democracy. They really have established the rights that we live by as American citizens, the form of government that we enjoy. They're really the cornerstone of American democracy and really influence the whole world. So we're talking about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and others as well.
So now I assume you're the man to ask, is there a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence?
Okay, now we're going to edit this because, tell me about that.
Yeah.
Is there a map on the back? Because
it's a plot of a movie. Don't worry about it.
Is that the national treasure?
It's a national treasure.
When you came on, excuse me, Zach, we're just riffing here, but did you come on Wednesday to the opening party?
I came for the opening
press thing. On the party, Patrick Madden from the National Archives said, ask me about the map on the back of the Declaration. I had no idea what he was talking about. Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
So, moving on from
the
there.
Answer is there is not a map on the Declaration.
Or so you would have us believe.
Yeah,
just making sure.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
No map on the back of it. Okay. You'll enjoy the movie.
Okay.
It's a good movie.
Gotcha.
I recommend you check it out. Second one, not so great. Anywho, getting back to this, it's not the actual Declaration of Independence that's here. It's something else. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, this is a really interesting thing. The original Declaration, of which a few handmade copies exist, was so faded in the National Archives in the early 18th century that John Quincy Adams decided we really need to have a more permanent copy that will withstand the test of time. So they engaged an engraver named William Stone, and he made 50 copies of the Declaration in very precise engraving that replicates to the minute detail the actual Declaration, all those bold signatures, John Hancock and all the rest. And it has become really the standard image of the Declaration, because the real Declaration, the one that was actually signed on that hot July day in Philadelphia in 1776, the signatures were smudged, the copy is worn, the parchment is fragile and deteriorating. So what you'll see in this exhibit is what's known as the stone engraving from the 1820s, but it's the closest we have to what the original Declaration looked like when it was brand new. So it really is a powerful document. Only a few of those exist, and the National Archives has a copy. That's what's on display at MoHI.
Gotcha. Now, you have a few other things that's up there as well, letters from George Washington and such.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of amazing, Art, because it shows the progression of democracy. We have the Articles of Association, which was the first time the Continental Congress got together and decided that, we have a beef with England. We're still English citizens. We're not rebelling against the king, but we have some pretty serious disagreements, all the way up to the Declaration, which was really the statement of our independence, that we were going to become a free and sovereign nation. And then how do we govern ourselves? So the Constitution, one of the early draft versions of the Constitution, where you can see people actually making edits right on the document. And then, of course, the Bill of Rights, which were the first amendments to the Constitution. And you see those edited as well, including some rights that are scratched out and others are preserved. The Treaty of Paris, that really established America as an independent nation in a global sense. Benjamin Franklin's signature is on that, along with others. And then the Oath of Allegiance of George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and Aaron Burr. And Ari, this is where these leaders of the Revolution signed an oath saying that they were pledging their allegiance to the United States, this brand new nation. and not subjects of the King of England. That was a treasonous offense, but they were putting their lot and their spirit and their fight and their entire lives with the United States. And every soldier in the Revolution, the thousands and thousands of soldiers, each signed one of those oaths. And we have the one from George Washington on display.
We'll all hang together or all hang separately.
We all hang separately. And they hung together through the worst conditions, those cold winters at Valley Forge. They weren't sufficiently funded. They didn't have the right equipment. And it was a long, long war. It took many years against the world's biggest and best army. But the spirit of independence that still animates the United States today, it was that spirit that kept them going and that eventually led to that victory.
Now, I was looking when I came in this morning. There was a line around the building, not outside the building, inside the building, to get into this exhibit. Is this the most popular exhibit you guys have ever had?
I think it is, Ari, I really do. And for many people, it's once in a lifetime. For all of us, it's really once in a generation, because these documents are on their last viewing during this 250th year of American independence. From Seattle, they will go back to the National Archive, and the archivists have told us that these very documents will go into the vaults for 10 years in order to conserve them and make sure they're not exposed to the elements beyond their display here in Seattle. So it's once in a generation. It's a really rare opportunity, and so people are coming. The good news is, though, that the wait time, those lines are long, but the wait time usually is not much more than 15 minutes.
It looked like it was moving pretty speedily.
It's moving pretty quickly.
Yeah. Now, when you guys do this, I assume you have to compete with other museums for exhibits like this, and there are other museums in Washington. Right. How'd you guys get this one?
Well, you know, there are 8 cities across the country. None of them are in the original 13 colonies. So they're all museums that are in the Midwest or the West, or a museum in Florida, because that wasn't one of the original 13. And I think when they thought of the Northwest, they thought of, hey, what's the best city in the Northwest? It's Seattle. And what's the history museum in Seattle? And that's Mohi. So we were very honored and very lucky. And the display is up until August 16th.
Until August 16th.
Right,
and
through,
that's when
August 16th.
Is that when the Freedom plane comes back and picks them up and takes them?
Indeed it does. And Ari, a military escort brought those documents off the plane. They were treated as the national treasures that they are. They were loaded into a specially equipped van with a Washington State Patrol escort to the museum. We're displaying them in the highest level of environmental and security standards, and we'll reverse that process. They'll go back with a military escort. They'll be loaded back onto the Freedom plane, which, by the way, is a built in Seattle Boeing 737, so we got to give kudos to that, and they'll go back to the National Archives, and then go back to the vault.
Amazing. So, my friends, if you want to see the founding documents of our nation, come on down to the Museum of History and Industry. They are on display from now until August 16th, when they go back into a vault where you may not see them again in your lifetime. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Leonard Garfield, thank you so much for your time today. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Always a pleasure. Now, I was lucky I got to go to the media event where I got to see these things without a crowd. I was actually very honored to be able to do that when they invited me out there last week. But even with the crowds, you see how excited people are to see these documents. The lines are moving pretty quickly. There are massive lines, and you need tickets in advance. And you can go to the Museum of History and Industry, MOHI, mohi.org. Go to the website. You can reserve tickets. It's through August 16th. I highly recommend you make the trip down to Seattle to check them out. Also, something else, don't park at the museum. Go around the corner. There's a park area there where you can park way cheaper, way easier, and way more spots. So head on over there if you're going down there. It is worth checking out. Definitely is. Plus, I love the Mohi. It's a great museum. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face. Heading into your very, very, very smoky evening commute, you're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And just a reminder, if you missed this explosive episode because you only were able to listen to a certain part of it, reminder that the Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded, it starts as soon as we're done here. That runs from 6 to 7 p.m. every single weekday. It's brought to you by our friends over at Wade's Eastside Guns and Bellevue Indoor Range, Puget Sound's premier destination for everything firearms. So just a reminder, that is coming up at 6 o'clock, right when we're done here with the Ari Hoffman Show. Meanwhile, over here, I'm really actually kind of excited about the amount of people that called the show today, that texted the show today, because a lot of you were calling with ideas. I didn't get to all of them. I mean, the text line, holy cow today. I didn't get to all of them. But I got to say, you guys got some great ideas for fixing the GOP. And I'm going to tell you something. Go out and do them. Go out and do them. You heard my conversation with Carol. She's 80 years old. She's going to go have those conversations at church. Go out and do them. That's how we fix things. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Go out and do them. Okay, meanwhile, pivoting over to good news here. This one from Outkick. Did you know that the Blue Angels in Seattle had a cameo appearance in Hard Knocks, which is covering the Seattle Seahawks this year? According to Fox News, Seattle Seahawks are allowing the NFL's annual Hard Knocks series to take us behind the scenes. And the first episode with the defending Super Bowl champions gave us a peek into the first day of training camp, the first day of padded practice, and the Navy's Blue Angels stealing the show. The Blue Angels typically play no role in an NFL training camp. Hey, guess when the first day was? Can you guess? Can you guess? During Seafair. But somehow at the climax of Tuesday night's episode, they were roaring across the sky over the Seahawks and making some of the millionaire professional athletes and coaches react like wide-eyed kids. I don't watch the show. Now I kind of want to go watch the show. More of that in a minute. But firstly, you should know that it is rare for defending Super Bowl champs to allow dozens of cameras to be placed throughout their training facility and have players and coaches mic'd up so the viewing public and opponents can watch their meetings and practices while listening to typically private conversations. But the Seahawks are graciously allowing it this year. We saw plenty in this episode, from insights on practice fights to intel on contracts. And then we got to the Seattle's first padded practice. The last time the Seattle Seahawks put on their pads in San Francisco for the Super Bowl, so Coach Mike McDonald. The shot then cuts to the Seahawks on the field in pads, thudding each other up and perhaps being a little more physical than that until you hear the roar of jet engines overhead. Players and coaches look skyward, and 6 blue and yellow FA-18 scream past in formation, a trail of white smoke in their wake. Yes, America, McDonald exclaims. Blue Angels, baby, let's do it. America, says linebacker Ernest Jones, the fourth. And this is the moment we see that admiring fans have come to watch the Seahawks practice, and that admiring Seahawks are instead watching the Blue Angels practice for their August 1st through 2nd Boeing Seafair Air Show. How can you not watch the Blue Angels, McDonald asks rhetorically. The Navy flight that buzzed the Renton, Washington training facility on the southeastern shore of Lake Washington lasted much of the football team's first padded practice. It seemingly served as a soundtrack to their workout. Jones said, man, we got football, we got an air show. It was awesome. And when it was over, McDonald gathered his players in a huddle and delivered a message. Tell you what, man, that was a hell of a practice, he said. Ain't it great to be back in pads playing football? It doesn't get any better than this. Little Seahawk style, America. We got the freaking Blue Angels, he said. I might have to start watching this show. The annual HBO series will follow the Seahawks all the way through training camp, the preseason, and until the final roster cuts. The series airs every Tuesday evening and then streams on HBO after that. This 2026 premiere was obviously a little different than most because this episode closed with about 2 solid minutes of the Blue Angels preparing for their flights instead of the Seahawks preparing for more football. Priorities. America, Fox News writes. That's great. You know, I really had no interest in the show. I'm not the biggest football fan ever. But now I kind of want to watch the show just to see the Blue Angels. I'll also say, if you can't get enough of the Blue Angels, you're missing Seafair a little bit, or you missed that Saturday where you didn't get to see the Blue Angels, go watch the documentary that came out last year on the Blue Angels. Or was that 2 years ago? That documentary that Mike and I went to see in IMAX. Go check it out. It is worth the watch. Do not watch it on your cell phone, my friends. Watch it on a big TV, the biggest TV you can find. I walked into Best Buy the other day. I go to Best Buy. Yeah, I know. What was I doing in Best Buy? I was just browsing. Checked it out. Biggest TV I've ever seen. Bigger than this studio wall right here. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded is up next. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.